Hey guys, it's Sign Duo here. I've been wanting these lip glosses and they went on sale. Yeah, because of Black Friday. They come with 4 of them and I normally use this one. It's called Fenty Glow. I use lip glosses all the time and this is one of my favorites. Because it's the holidays, we also got you guys one. So all you have to do to enter to win this is to comment down below with the word holiday in it so we can find you, and then the next, or else we won't be entered because of like how it works. We will announce the winner in our next video. So today we're going to be answering Shelly Wilcoxon's question. With Skillshare, you can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. And they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. A lot of people ask us how they can start learning sign language. Skillshare has a beginner's ASL class where you can learn the basic signs, the ABCs, and their classes are designed for learning, so that means there are no ads on their classes. And with an annual subscription, it can be less than $10 per month. Back to the question. That is a good question. I used to think that I would sign to other people out of habit, because I do tend sometimes just naturally sign, even if I'm speaking to somebody who doesn't know sign language and we're just speaking English. Sometimes I will just sign, and I used to think it was out of habit, but since I've studied languages, I just graduated with a BA in language science, I've learned that what I'm actually doing is called code switching. So that means I'm just changing my language. It's just kind of like spoken languages. People who speak Spanish and English, they will code switch. They'll just change from speaking English to Spanish, and that's kind of like the same thing. And it has a purpose. It's because most of the time when I tend to sign instead of speak, then it's because I can't find the word that I want to say in English. I just am trying to communicate the best I can, and if I can't do it in the English way, then I'll sign language. Yeah, that's why I kind of want to point out is that you don't sign out of habit. It is very much a purposeful linguistic choice to code switch. It's just my way of trying to communicate. I might gesture. It's more of a rudimentary way of communicating. Gesturing, there's not a lot of linguistic information in a gesture. That's very different from sign language, and actually goes back in history that a lot of people saw sign language as very much kind of like a gesture, very basic level. But as people started to study sign language more in depth, they started to learn that sign language is a very complex language. And it's just like spoken languages with all their complexities too. Just like all the parts of a spoken language, they're just translated to visual cues. in sign language. Okay, so the big difference is that gestures aren't complex in their meaning. Sign language is a developed language. Speaking or signing a language, you don't do that out of habit. You do that because you're trying to communicate. It's way more complex than just a habit. I just don't like the word habit with that because it says that it's like getting a habit of waking up and brushing your teeth. It's not the same. I would say it just becomes more natural as you become more fluent in that language. I feel like I'm just getting tripped up with the wording, and it's not really about that. I do tend to sign with other people. With my mom, because she knows some signs. She knows signs, so I will change it up. Yeah, I don't think that you change languages just because it's a habit. Because a habit is saying that the situation is the same every time and it's repetitive. But with language, it's not the same every time. Mm-hmm. I feel pretty fluent in sign language, that I feel like it just comes naturally, but it arises because of a situation. Maybe I don't know that word in English, so I know the sign, and normally it's a verb, because how sign language is, normally you'll change on verbs like going or doing, like do. Like I rather than say what are you doing, I rather just say it's easier. So also that is shorter. Okay, that was a really long answer. We had to open my brain and start digging out information. I think that there's a lot of history with American Sign Language, in that before it was a really oppressed language. And saying that someone just uses their language out of habit, I don't think that gives the language this credibility, and it has been in the past one that hasn't been seen as a true, legitimate language, and people have had to fight to get it to where it's recognized now, which gives a lot of people representation and their rights. So language is a big part, and that's why languages played a huge part in deaf rights, is that people started recognizing their language as an advanced language, just like spoken languages. So I wouldn't say it's out of habit. You don't do a language out of habit. It's not being respectful. It's just actually, I studied languages, and American Sign Language is a very complex language. I've studied other languages too that are very different than English, like how we speak, how English speakers speak. Most of the time, English speakers only speak one language, English, and that's it. But there are so many other languages out there that actually provide a different perspective sometimes, or changes the way you think just because of using that language. But my point is that sign language is just as complex and informative as other, or as much as a true language as any spoken language. And I think how we talk about sign language is important, saying that it's not just a habit to sign. You are signing a language, and you might be code switching, you might be changing language in middle sentences. So, yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, I hope that answered your question, and maybe a little bit more or too much. See you guys next time. Love you. Bye.